Hello and welcome to a video I've been kind of wanting to make for a while. It's been a while since I last just yapped about something, so I wanted to yap about this, which is the worst skill of every hero. It's actually, for most heroes, not that difficult, but I kind of wanted to make this video because I've seen some other people talk about this a long time ago, so I was like, hey, might as well talk about that myself. And I just kind of wanted to talk about some heroes and which I think is their worst skill. And do remember that the worst skill sometimes isn't an actually bad skill. It's just the hero doesn't have any worst skill. It's the least usable skill. And a lot of the cases you will see me put a skill that just never sees use because there's a much better option compared to it in the hero's kit, which we will see a few times coming up, over as a worse skill than a skill that's actually kind of just bad, but it does have its unique niche. So the main own power of the skill doesn't really matter that much. It's more about how well does the skill play in the hero's kit, and if there's direct competition to it, then there's probably a high chance that the skill is gonna be quite bad. Now, starting off, A-Bomb. For A-Bomb, it's not too difficult. It's pretty much always gonna be Slam. The issue with Slam is not that it's, again, a bad skill. Slam is actually pretty good. It is a utility skill that actually only does minus 25% damage, which is really good, especially because it's A-Bomb with ridiculous base damage and the transform bonus damage on top of that just makes Slam hit really, really hard. But the issue with Slam is just that it's a bit inconsistent. The upside is very good, the damage is great, the debuff is actually pretty good as well, at max level 20 dodge, 6 speed, that's pretty high, especially considering how much damage you are still dealing. But the issue with this skill is just that it really doesn't come up very often, because the reach on this thing is pretty bad. It only hits the front two ranks, which is there's usually prot in there, especially on higher levels, and then it just doesn't hit as hard, and Rage just kind of does that better by being able to target rank 3, and it has that higher crit modifier, so it kind of deals a lot more damage. But yeah, that's one of the issues Slam has, and the other thing is just that it's very inconsistent, aside from the utility being kind of mediocre. It's just that the knockback is just not happening very often, because the most things that are up front usually have really high move resist, your Swine Tor, your Bone Defender, they all have really good move resist, and because A-Bomb doesn't get any move skill chance increases in his trinkets, it's just kind of yeah, you are most likely not getting any pushes on important targets, and the targets you can push will usually those are the targets that have no prot. That's your cultist brawler, right? And for those, just press Rage, just kill them instantly, and that's just kind of a lot better. So that's kind of where the push is kind of bad. The debuff kind of runs into the same issue where he doesn't get any good debuff skill chance from his trinkets, and you obviously don't want to run generic stuff because it doesn't help the rest of his kit a whole lot. I guess it helps his minus light resist debuff, but you are not really playing around that, are you? So something like debuff on it just feels like a big waste, and that's kind of the issue with Slam. The moving around ability is also just kind of eh. It's only really useful in rank 3, because if you're in rank 1, just press Rage. If you're on rank 2, then it's kind of yeah, you really don't want to press Slam, because you basically lock yourself out of the option of going Transform into Beast Spile or Manacles, which you might need depending on the situation. And if you move into rank 1, you can just get stuck there and you lose a lot of access to the rest of your kit. It's just not great. The accuracy on it is also slightly lower. It's only 80, which is 5 below the average, which usually doesn't matter because you have, this thing which gives you 15 accuracy, and it just says yeah, that's cool, and suddenly the accuracy really isn't that big a deal. But yeah, it's just a shame. It's Slam. Slam is, again, not a terrible skill. It does have its use cases, but very often you just don't care about the skill a whole lot, and that kind of makes it its worst skill because everything else just has way more use. Now, moving on, Antiquarian. For her, it's actually also kind of interesting. There's a lot of all the skills are definitely not bad, but for a West skill, I think it has to be Get Down. It might also just be Nervous Stab, but all of her, she's one of the heroes where I actually struggle really hard to pick out a West skill, because all of her skills are just kind of good. Because Nervous Stab, it's good early, uber early game. This thing, it's a lot better than Festing Rapers. If you are like level 0, then it's just more damage than Festering Vapors, and for that it's like kind of nice, but it should probably be Nervous Stab as like her worst skill, but yeah, like Get Down is the other thing, but Get Down has use cases. It's great if you run in the back, because then you can just like press this once in like torches or something. If you like fight Shambler or you just get like shuffled anyways, you can press Get Down, get all the way into the back line, get really good stats, like 15 dodge 1 speed for like an action. That's a pretty sizable buff, and later on it's 5 speed, which is just ridiculous. And yeah, like, this thing has its use cases, same with, like, most of the other skills. This is, like, solid enough damage. Flash Powder is great for, like, general, like, defense. Fortifying Vapors is a heal, so it can't be, like, a worse skill, probably. Enriching Vapors, you know the skill, this thing is broken if you get to late game. Protect Me, you know this thing, it's broken early, it's broken late. It synergies well with, like, a lot of stuff, so, yeah. It's probably Nervous Stab, it's just that Nervous Stab later on just kind of gets outclassed by Festering Vapors. It's great uber early, like, if you are level 0, but after that, kind of difficult to justify over Festering Vapors' extra reach and like armor piercing and just higher general accuracy. Now, Arbalest. This one's also difficult, but not for the same reason as Antiquarian, because he just has so many like really bad skills. Like, you could argue Sniper's Mark, this thing is just terrible. It's like okay if you want to kill Shrieker, but why would you ever kill Shrieker? Just bring like one Leper and just live the fight. It's the same thing. It's just much safer. Blind Fire is horrid. The skill is abysmal dogshit. And it's really just between these two, because everything else, like, Suppressing Fire does its thing sometimes. It's great against certain enemies, and Bowler is just kind of like, yeah, it's a good stalling tool. And it hits rank 1, which, if you don't need, like, the Suppressing Fire, then Bowler's probably, like, your 4th skill slot, because otherwise, like, Battlefield Bandage, Railing Flare, Sniper Shot, like, those 3 just stay equipped. And you pretty much would choose between Bowler and Suppressing Fire. Both have, like, their own strengths and weaknesses. And it's just, like, kind of, like, between Sniper's Mark and Blind Fire. Both of these suck absolute ass. Sniper's Mark is just unusable, basically. And Blind Fire is just, like, questionable. Like, why does it have 75 accuracy on a hero that doesn't want accuracy trinkets very often? Okay. Random target? Huh? And it's just like, yeah. Blind Fire is very unreliable. I don't like the skill at all, but you could totally argue Sniper's Mark. It just kind of depends on, like, which of the two you think is worse. You want abysmal dog shit, or you want abysmal dog shit? Yeah, it's between these two. In my opinion, it's Blind Fire, because I hate Blind Fire. This thing never hits for me. It's a terrible skill. It even has, like, fucking minus 10% damage modifier. Why? Why does it do that? But I've seen, like, some people using, like, no healing, so you could totally argue Sniper's Mark. This thing is also, like, terrible. Both are completely unusable. Shoulder Spell. Now, Bounty Hunter. This one's also difficult, because, like, all of his skills are kind of good. But the one I want to highlight a bit is probably gonna be Come Hither. Come Hither is not bad. Definitely not. It's a perfectly serviceable skill, but in his kit, there's just, like, a lot of skills that are really good, and it's difficult to pick, like, something that's worse than Come Hither. Because the issue with Come Hither is just that Flashbang exists, and Flashbang very often does the same thing that Come Hither tries to do, but just much better. Like, it's a shuffle, so it's inconsistent, but you get the immediate stun value of it, and it has higher accuracy, and, like, it targets rank 2, which is kind of good. But yeah, like, I just prefer Flashbang over it 99% of the time, because Flashbang is one of his best skills. And that just kind of means that Come Hither doesn't usually see a slot in his kit, but it can definitely be usable. If you have, like, a second Bounty Hunter, then this becomes really good, because then you can pull, like, the backline up front, you can start them for really big damage with Collect Bounty. Otherwise, like, you don't really care about pulling, because you can just Mark for Death them, and then, like, you shoot them in the face with someone else, which is just much better. Or you can obviously just press Flashbang and kind of get the same value, because the start is just really valuable. And you never find space for, like, the other stuff. And yeah, it's just Come Hither. The skill is, again, not bad, but it is technically his worst skill, in my opinion. Now, Crusader. This one is also, like, an argument between two skills that are just abysmal. Zealous and Bulwark. Both of these are not good. Both of these are terrible. Zealous never sees any use, because Smite just straight up does more. It's ranged, which means it doesn't synergize with his kit. It's a cleave. That should tell you enough. Crusader up front is just not a kit you want to run, so that kind of doesn't do anything. Bulwark is in the same like slot. It's up front. Like, you don't play this guy up front because Holy Lens is ridiculous. And yeah, the prot on someone with 61 HP. That's good. The torch bonus, which gotta save that 25 gold, guys. It's gonna do something, Clueless. The self-mark is actually kind of good, so I'm probably gonna pick Zealous as like his worst skill over Bulwark just because of that. Because self-marking with Crusader can be kind of nice in like early game wield when you don't have Leper. It can be like useful in like longer fights, but in general, like, this skill is also not good, but it's better than Zealous in my opinion, because Zealous doesn't do anything. You never see me use this skill for a very good reason. It just doesn't do anything. Why would you ever run this over like just press Smite, or if you want a finisher, just press Stunning Blow because it's more consistent. That's pretty much like why you never see Zealous. Now, Flagellant. This one's obvious. It's Suffer. Suffer doesn't do anything. This skill is completely miserable. You mark yourself, and that's all the skill does. All of this other text doesn't exist. It's just mark yourself. Because you have a cope upside of Death Blow resist. I'm sure you want to use your action to get Death Blow resist. That's the stat you care about. Sure. Whatever you say, man. But, like, otherwise, like, the minus stress. Have you read Lash of Solace? This guy doesn't care about stress. And if you really want, like, to like, heal stress or, like, prevent stress, use Endure. Or just camp and use Lash of Solace. Why would you ever get, like, a minus stress debuff? Or minus stress, like, buff? It doesn't do anything. And the other part, like, transfer Bite and Bleed and receive that, it's horrid. Because if you look at this guy's defenses, his HP is actually, like, not good. His HP is very, very close to, like, being really bad. Because it's pretty much just 2 higher than Shieldbreaker, and you have no dodge. And that's pretty bad. Like, usually it's still fine because he has, like, great defenses, otherwise, like, 65% bleed resist is just ridiculous. And 30% blight resist is also pretty good, and especially because you always want to run, like, plus speed resist on him, and you very often end up running, like, Garlic until, like, late game when you run Flesh Assault, but usually it's still Garlic for, like, a large part of the campaign, and then you just kind of become, like, immune to a lot of damage over time. And you can't resist Suffer. So, you put a damage over time on your 22 HP, 0 dodge frontliner that gets extra speed when he hits Death's Door. And he's just gonna kill himself. Don't use Suffer for that. There's like one small use case where you can run this with like Shieldbreaker for Swine King and you just like transfer Mark onto him. But there's, in my opinion, much better options, and don't run Flagellant for that. So yeah. And otherwise, like, you can't really pick anything that's much worse than Suffer, because Endure has like use case, Redeem has its use case, Reclaim is really good, Punish, Rain of Souls, I don't think I have to explain. Exang was a close second. I know this is gonna piss some people off, but Exang is not good, because there's just a better option, Redeem. Sure, it deals damage, but if you miss this once, then your Flagellant just fucking dies. And I'm sorry, I'm not gambling like that my hero just dies if I miss a skill. That's not a good idea. That's generally just too risky, and if you get pushed, that's horrible. Now, Grave Robber. This one's also kind of difficult, because there's like a lot of skills that I'm very fond of, since like a while. Toxin Trickery is actually pretty good, and Flashing Daggers is also like not terrible, just because it has 90 base accuracy, and you often get Lucky Talisman, which is just an absurdo trinket. So it gets like really good accuracy, and you can kind of like finish the mid-range sometimes. But I think it's still gonna be Flashing Daggers. It's definitely not a bad skill. It's just that like the other skills in her kit, just in my opinion, do much more. Like Pictured Fates, it's not good, but you need to keep it if you want to have anything out of rank 1. Lunge is pretty obvious, Fade is pretty obvious, Thrown Dagger, Poison Dart, these kind of like overlap, but Poison Darts is slightly more consistent if you don't have Lucky Talisman, and it is better against like longer fights because you get that extra like turn of Blight. And Thrown Dagger is just better in general because you get like more on-hit damage, and if you have the Lucky Talisman, then like it's slightly worse accuracy is usually completely fine. So yeah, between these two and Toxin Trickery, I really want to mention this skill. A lot of people have said that this is her worst skill, but Toxin Trickery is actually like pretty good. It's great for like longer fights because you get like a bunch of dodge, which is just always good. You get like a bunch of speed, and you can often slot this in like for boss fights or something because you always want like usually want like Lunge or Shadow Fade. Most of the time you want both of these, and then you just like I don't could like pick to the face for it because you just don't die, right? Just don't lose heroes, smile. But yeah, it's pretty Flash and Daggers. The skill is definitely not bad, but yeah, like the mid-range finishing cleaves are a bit difficult. It does see like pretty good damage for a cleave, but in my opinion, it's her worst skill. But you could definitely argue like pick to the face. Now, Hellion. This one's easy. It's Wick Attack. Every other skill in the kit has like some use case, but Wick Attack just kind of, I guess Wick Attack does have, but in my opinion, it's Wick Attack. Iron Swan, I don't have to explain. Yorp, if it bleeds. Adrenaline Rush is actually like solid sometimes for boss fights. Bleed Out is Bleed Out. And it was kind of between Breakthrough and Wick Attack for me. Breakthrough is great if you want to like dance, and if you play like no healing stuff, then Breakthrough is very good. It's just like a very fast skill. If you manage to like get a frontline that doesn't have like 1 more billion prot, then the skill can do something. It's still not a good skill, I don't like it, but it can do some work. And if you manage to like get a frontline that doesn't have like a lot of prot, for example, if you go to like Cove or something, you can sometimes slot this in with like a dancer and then just press Breakthrough. But most of the time, I would just prefer keeping up front, especially in Highlight. In Torches, like there's more of a reason to run Breakthrough, but you already have like if it bleeds kind of fixing the positional issue, and you really want to get Bleed Out because Bleed Out is ridiculous, and you really want to get Iron Swan for obvious reasons. And the reason why I pick Wick Attack over Breakthrough is mainly because I don't like Wick Attack. Wick Attack is in a very weird slot where it doesn't really have a space next to Bleed Out and If It Bleeds very often. Because if you are in rank 2, like you just run If It Bleeds and you just most likely care about hitting rank 3 over rank 2 anyways, so you don't care about Wick Attack. If you are hitting in the prot, Wick Attack doesn't do anything, Bleed Out is just much better. And very often, like, unless you know you are gonna get shuffled, there's very little reason to ever run, like, Wick Attack over Bleed Out, because Bleed Out just does way more damage. Like, this thing is ridiculous. Because basically, until you press this skill 3 times, it's just better than Wick Attack. Because, like, I guess you lose speed, but in turn, you get plus 20% damage, you get much higher crit, you get a massive bleed, and yeah, like, if you crit with this, like, it just starts being better than Wick Attack immediately. Because if Wick Attack crits, it's like, yeah, it's more damage, but you don't get, like, the crit bonus effect. Because you need, like, because you have, like, the plus 33% damage versus bleeding. And Wick Attack doesn't apply bleed. So it doesn't get, like, that bonus immediately. Whereas with Bleed Out, the moment you crit, this thing just starts dealing, like, positive damage again. And it's just ridiculous. This thing hits for absurd numbers. It's great if there's, like, any dangerous rank 1 enemy, like, any size 2 enemy, like Ghoul, the Big Brigand sometimes, if you care about, like, Corpse Eaters. This thing just cleans them up instantly, because this thing hits absurdly hard. Really, really good skill. And that's kind of why, like, Wick Attack doesn't see a lot of play, because it really only is better than Wick Attack if you are specifically getting moved back into rank 2, which really doesn't happen outside of, like, specific dance teams. And if you are playing, like, a dance team with Hellion, like 1, why would you do that? I would just prefer running Iron Swan, but there's some times when you can make it work. But then, like, if it bleeds does more, Breakthrough is probably doing more because you planned around Breakthrough, and that's kind of like, yeah. You don't really care about, like, Wick Attack anymore. And that's why, in my opinion, it's her worst skill. You could maybe argue that, like, Adrenaline Rush, but I like the extra healing it gives sometimes. But yeah, it's Wick Attack. This skill is just a bit outclassed in her kit. Now, Highwayman. This one's also pretty obvious, because it's always Wicked Slice. And now I know what you're gonna say if you've, like, used Wicked Slice, because the skill is actually good. The issue is, why would you use Wicked Slice when you could use Open Vein? Because Open Vein is more consistent. And against anything that can bleed, a single tick of bleed from Open Vein is better, like, in terms of just pure damage, 99% of the time. There's exactly one level, which I think is level 3 Wicked Slice versus level 3 Open Vein with level 3, like, gear, where if you hit Wicked Slice, it needs 2 ticks from Open Vein to be better. But that's considering, like, no prot. And Open Vein has like additional utility with all of this, and Open Vein is just more consistent because of the extra accuracy, and it's just like Wicked Slice doesn't get anything. It's very unfortunate because the skill is good, but 99% of the time you don't care about the skill, and the only reason to basically use this is just if you want to gamble. Because technically, if you do gamble and you keep like rolling like the crits from Wicked Slice and you just keep critting, then Wicked Slice is actually better than Open Vein, because then you just deal like much more damage up front. Of course, over time, Open Vein just outclasses it completely because you get like 10 extra damage from the bleed at level 1, which is just absurd. Like, that's doubling its damage. And obviously, like, late game, if you have, like, the 4-point bleed, it's just dealing 20 damage over 5 turns, which is just completely insane. And yeah, like, obviously, like, the consistency is the main part. Just having a skill that's guaranteed to hit is very important, and Wicked Slice just kind of doesn't do anything. And even if you want to argue, oh, but it has, like, a really big number, and, like, I like seeing big flashing orange number, you can just use Point Blank, because Point Blank deals more damage, has more accuracy, same crit modifier. The only thing you are giving up is like reach into rank 2, but if you just want to see like big fancy like orange number, you can just play around Point Blank, which is not a good idea because Point Blank is also like kind of not a good skill, but it's definitely better than Wicked Slice because Wicked Slice just doesn't have a space in the meta. Because like another thing that I kind of want to mention, like aside from like the accuracy thing, is that there's a lot of prot up front, so you really want to get like damage over time onto those because damage over time pierces prot. And the moment there's like any amount of prot, pretty much, Open Vein just deals more damage because you get like a single D tick, you just basically like a lot of the part that like you just outclass the extra damage that Wicked Slice deals. It's very unfortunate. The skill is just outclassed completely, basically, by Open Vein. There's never a reason to use the skill. Now, you could argue that, like, Tracking Shot is worse. Maybe, but, like, Tracking Shot has its place in, like, longer fights where you can just get, like, extra accuracy. It's great against Baron. It's great against, like, Pounder. Just for, like, longer fights in general. It's just very, very useful. Grape Shot is great if you play Ranger Highwayman. It's obviously kind of bad for Duelist Advance, but even in Duelist Advance, you can sometimes use this at level 1 to abuse its like very bad accuracy and very bad on-hit damage to get like additional stalling value. And that's like much more valuable than Wicked Slice, which just does nothing. Because the skill just reads, literally, do nothing compared to Open Vein. You just like make your hero way worse by not equipping Open Vein. And that's kind of why like Wicked Slice is his worst skill. Now, Houndmaster. For Houndmaster, it's Hound's Harry, I think. And it's very, very unfortunate because Hound's Harry is a good skill. And there's definitely like use cases for this. But the issue is just that, like, what skill is worse, you know? Like, you are not putting Hound's Rush there. You're not putting Target Missile there. Like, Cry Havoc? Guard Dog? Blackjack? Like, you can't put those skills, like, below Hound's Harry, right? Like, that's just not a thing. And Lick Wounds is, like, kind of close, because it's kind of just like, yeah, it's an okay self-heal. But in my opinion, keeping that self-heal is more important than keeping, like, a very mediocre cleave. This thing really needs, like, high level to, like, start doing a lot, but it just isn't enough very often. It can be great if you are, like, crit farming and endless, but otherwise, like, Hound's Harry just is probably his worst skill by process of elimination, because every other skill in this kit is just really, really good. With the exception of maybe Lick Wounds. But it's a self-heal. So, can't really go wrong with those, you know? Now, Jester. For Jester, it's Harvest. Harvest is just not usable. Like, it's not even close. The skill, again, is not terrible. You can definitely make it work, but Slice of just does more. And that's kind of like why the skill struggles. It has more accuracy, it has more crit rate. This thing having 8% base crit at level 1 is ridiculous, by the way. It goes all the way up to 12. It's like Occultist level crit. Okay. It deals like a really good bleed. 3 points as like a starting level is pretty solid. Especially considering like you still get like a lot of on-hit damage. It's around the same as like Punish. Obviously you get like 1 less point of bleed, but you do get that extra on-hit damage, and you obviously have that insane crit chance. That's kind of like why Harvest just doesn't see play, because Slice Off just does like everything it does, but much better, because it's just more damage. If you want to like finish in the mid-range, this thing is more consistent. If you have like Guard and you want to like get around Guard, Dirk Stab does that, And like, yeah, that's kind of like the struggle between Harvest and Slice Off, and Slice Off pretty handily wins that. Like, the other skills, I don't think I have to talk about these two. Solo and Finale are ridiculous. Dark Stab is just really flexible, and yeah, it just has to be Harvest. This skill is outclassed by Slice Off, and that's pretty much its only issue. Leper. This one is just terrible. Like, there's two of them, and that's Hew and that's Revenge. Both of these skills are completely garbage. Like, Hew is good if you have like a fight that spawns ads that you want to like actually get rid of, like Shambler or the Drowned Crew. Issue is, why are you bringing Leper against Drowned Crew, and why are you bringing Leper against Shambler? Why would you do that? And that's kind of like the issue with you, because it counters bosses that also counter Leper. And if your counter gets countered, are you really bringing a counter? I don't think so. And that's kind of why Hew does suck. But in my opinion, I guess it's Hew. Hew is probably his worst skill. Like, the other close one is Revenge. Revenge doesn't do anything. It's good specifically for Baron if you want to like hyper buff your Leper and just slap like something in the face. But otherwise, this thing's way too slow for any hallway fight. And for most boss fights where you would think like, oh, you want like really big damage from Leper, because like, let's take like Swine King, for example. You just want to kill him quickly, right? And Intimidate just does more. That's the issue. Because against most bosses where you would think like, oh, Revenge is really good, Intimidate is just much better. And, or like Withstand, or just like pressing Chop without Revenge because it just ends the fight quicker. Because how you have to think about Revenge is that if you don't take if the fight is not gonna last more than 5 turns, Revenge doesn't do anything. Like, it's a net negative in terms of like pure damage, unless you get the crit at like level 1. Obviously, like later on, it's slightly better. You need like 3 hits, and then it's technically value. But like, when is like a fight that you want to burst down gonna last like 4 entire actions from Leper? Like, that's just not a thing. Just press Chop and just hit him in the face. Just bring like actual accuracy, and you'll probably be fine. Because relying on Revenge is just not a good idea. It's not a good skill. It makes Leper like less tanky, which usually isn't that big a deal because, yeah, but just generally not a good idea. It's between Revenge and Hew, but I'm giving the edge to Revenge because technically it has its use cases in like the Baron fight, whereas with Hew, like, why would you ever run this? Now, Man-at-Arms. This one's also difficult because he doesn't have like any really bad skills, but it's gonna be Retribution. And this is gonna be slightly controversial, I guess, but I don't think like Retribution is close to any of the other skills. The reason for that is just that Retribution doesn't do a lot on hit, and even though you do set up Riposte, it's difficult to like make the Riposte work as well as like with Highwayman. Because the advantage of Duelist Advance and why it's such a good skill is that effectively, like, the thing you are giving up, like, you have, let me show this. If you use Duelist Advance, compared to a Pistol Shot, right? You don't have the rank 4 reach, you have less crit, and you deal like 5% less damage, which, okay, that's not too bad of a trade, right? Like, you lose a bit of damage, but you get a bit of extra consistency. You can't hit like the primary rank you most likely want to target, but it's usually still fine. And then if you get the Riposte damage, then like the skill just becomes instantly better than Pistol Shot very often. And that's kind of the trade-off of Duelist Advance, where like, you technically on-hit, like on immediate use, it's straight up worse than Pistol Shot offensively, outside of like the extra 5 accuracy, but if you get like a single Riposte proc, then Duelist Advance is just doing more effective damage than Pistol Shot. And early on, that's really good, because you have like good accuracy on Riposte still, because it stays at 85, and it just kind of doesn't scale after that, and then later on you have to like run double accuracy to make like Riposte even remotely consistent. And yeah, that's kind of like what Duelist Advance does. Like later on it does do like a lot more damage, so it's really, really good. But the advantage of Duelist Advance is that like, it's a very low risk skill, because if you get no Riposte procs, you don't give up that much. Like, you are losing like a bit of like on-hit damage, like a bit of on-hit crit, and you aren't killing rank 4, but you can just kind of do that on turn 2, so it's usually fine. But if you look at Retribution, you don't get that, because you are dealing no damage, and you have like no crit. And that's kind of the issue with Retribution. Because if you don't get Riposte value from Retribution, this skill is doing nothing. Like, you are dealing 3 damage. And I'm sorry, that's not a good use of your action. Dealing 3 damage and nothing else pretty terrible. And that's kind of where the issue of Retribution comes in, because it's so reliant on the riposte. Because if you just don't get hit, skill doesn't do anything. You wasted an action. And then later on, if you have to like, where like the accuracy on riposte gets really bad, because it only has 90 base accuracy, you really need to run like a lot of accuracy on your Man-at-Arms, which is not something you want to do very often. Because Man-at-Arms has some really good like trinket support. Like you really like defense for Defender, you really like debuff chance if you are running Bellow, Rampart Shield is amazing. You can run like just generally useful utility stuff if you want to like go Command Bolster. There's just like really good stuff, like especially Rampart Shield and sometimes Guardian Shield, but most of the time it's Rampart Shield, Debuff Amulet. Like you can usually fit one accuracy trinket, but one accuracy trinket riposte at 100 base accuracy, you have 5 accuracy over like chop base. That's not good. Like that's just not acceptable like later on. And that's kind of the issue of Retribution, where the riposte becomes very inconsistent later on, unless you like invest a lot into it, with like you just press command like a lot, you get like a bunch of accuracy buffs, then it can be good, but in that case, like why wouldn't you just run Highwayman? Just deals more damage. Much easier to set up as well, because you can actually like buff your own accuracy, whereas Man-at-Arms can't, because you get Unperfiness, which is just ridiculous. Man-at-Arms doesn't get that, so it's just kind of like, yeah, it's too reliant on riposte, and it doesn't do enough. Just way too slow. If you don't get any progress off of this, you are basically wasting your turn, and you never have like the trinket space to invest into this unless you really want to, and in that case, just run Highwayman basically. And that's kind of like the issue with Retribution. It's still not a bad skill. Like if you have it equipped for like a Shambler fight, then it can be very good. For like most like triple riposte teams, you really want a Man-at-Arms just to get command, and obviously like the great camp buffs, and because Highwayman doesn't work well in rank 1, so you just kind of want to run Man-at-Arms for Retribution. But other than that, like Retribution is just not all that, and all of the other skills are just better in my eyes. Now, Musketeer, I don't think I'll talk about, it's the same as Arbalest. Occultist, this one's very easy. It's always artillery. The reason for this is just extremely simple, because you are choosing between artillery and hands on your abyss. And yeah, it's not even a close choice. Like, you are comparing one of the best skills in the game to a good skill. And I'm sorry, I'm picking the best skill, like one of the best skills in the game over like an okay damage skill. It's really that simple. And like in terms of like raw power, I would put Abyssal Artillery like above a lot of Occultist kit like Demon's Pull or Sack Stab. Like both of those are probably weaker than Artillery. But just because Artillery and Hand Swing Beast are exclusive to each other, it has to be Artillery. Because Artillery just is basically never seen. Because you always want to run Hand Swing Beast, right? And the other skills you can kind of like work into, like next to Hand Swing Beast at times. If you have like neutral accuracy, Sack Stab is really good. If you need a pull, Demon's Pull is great, but yeah, like Artillery is just exclusive to Hands from your Abyss, and like you are not picking Abyssal Artillery. That's just not happening. Plague Doctor. This one's also kind of simple. It's most likely Emboldening Vapors. Like you can make an argument for Incision, but it's, in my opinion, just always Emboldening Vapors. This skill is good for like boss fights. If you have like Baron, it's great. Like Crocodilian, you can make this work. For Pounder, it's pretty good. And just if you need like the damage buff, then it can be pretty good. If you just want like, if it's like a decently long fight, then Emboldening Vapors is very good. But outside of that, like normal fights, you just never see this thing. Most boss fights, you just don't see this thing because PD just out damages it by yourself, because Noxious Blast and Plague Grenade are just absurdly strong. And like Blinding Gas, like, I don't think I have to explain those. Incision is kind of like in the same boat, where like you can just like go an entire campaign without ever using Incision. Same with like Emboldening Vapors. And Incision, like it has space if you want to run her in like Courtyard, which she's very good at. This thing is most likely better than Noxious Blast, because Noxious Blast is just not sticking against Courtyard enemies. And Incision actually deals like pretty good on damage. The bleed is like pretty high as well. It's just basically Open Vein. Just think of it as like slightly worse, or like worse Open Vein basically. And you can support Incision to deal like really good damage if you want to. You can run like Bloody Herb. I don't think you run the Dissection Kit, you just run Bloody Herb. Because the Dissection Kit kind of sucks. But you just run Bloody Herb and you get like really good stats on it. And then it actually becomes like a pretty competent skill. Usually you don't have the space for it. It's just much better to like run something else. And if you have that second slot open, because I don't think I have to explain why one slot is just taken up 100% of the time. You can run something like Ashen Distillation to get the extra Blight skill chance, and then like your Blights are most likely sticking against stuff like the courtier enemies anyways. And yeah, that's kind of like why Incision is kind of bad, but you do have like the flexibility if you get moved forward. So I think I'm giving the edge to Incision over Emboldening Vapors, but you can definitely make an argument for like either of these being the worst skill. Shieldbreaker. This one's kind of difficult. Actually, not really, it's Captivate. All the other skills have like a pretty solid use case. Pierce, Puncture, Expose, and Serpent's Way. I don't think I have to explain those. Same with Adder's Kiss, that's just good damage. And Impale has like its use cases in like the higher levels. Early on it's pretty dog shit because it doesn't do anything. It's just like a very mediocre cleave. When you get that Blight though, then it actually becomes kind of competent at what it does. And obviously like Shieldbreaker's damage just fucking ramping up like crazy. And like her just getting better like over time. Then you can make Impale work. If you get like a lot of damage buffs from like PD for example against Pounder, then this thing is very good. But in general, like it's not amazing. But I think I would pick Impale over Captivate, because the issue with Captivate is again, everything she wants to do, Pierce, Puncture, and Serpent's Way, move her forward. And yeah, the skills that move her back are just not good enough very often. Like Adder's Kiss, if you are hitting rank 1, rank 2 with Shieldbreaker with Adder's Kiss, it's most likely that the backline is already dead, and at that point Captivate doesn't hit anything like meaningful. You are hitting rank 2, and in that case just press Pierce. It probably does more damage. That's kind of the issue with Captivate, like even if you run Expose alongside it, but then you are giving up either Sway or Puncture most likely, which, no, don't do that. That's extremely risky and just like a huge waste of utility, so you never have like space for Captivate. It's just a bit unfortunate. It's not a bad skill again. It does deal actually like pretty good damage, but it's just very difficult to fit in. If you could use this from rank 1, I would give this skill like a lot more props, and I would probably pick Impale over it as like her worst skill, but because you can't, you have to be in rank 2, which you never are. At least not when you want to run Captivate, or when you want to use Captivate, because at that point, most likely Sway is better, most likely Pierce does more, most likely Puncture does more. It's just, yeah, you never see like this skill used ever. Now, Vestal. This one is difficult. Not because like a lot of the skills are good, it's just that like Mace Bash, Illumination, and Handle Flight are all equally miserable, because all 3 of these skills don't do anything. Because you never want to run frontline Vestal. But in my opinion, I don't think I want to pick Hand of Light as her worst skill, because Hand of Light by itself is actually like a pretty solid skill. Minus 50 to hit like the front 3. That's pretty good. If you get like to max level, you hit like undead enemies. That's pretty good damage. And like the self buff is pretty good. It's just like the issue with this skill is, again, frontline Vestal is just not usable. And that's kind of because like Mace Bash is so bad, because what is this targeting? Why are you hitting the front 2 ranks with 4 to 8 base damage? Why would you do that? That's just a terrible idea. Like, obviously you get like more damage against Unholy, but if you read Smite, it just does more. Like, Smite is just a better version. And if you ever want to run like frontline Vestal, like what are you getting? You're getting Mace Bash, which is just worse Smite. You are getting Dazzling Light, which I guess it's fine, because you get to hit rank 3 over Stunning Blow. You get like Comfort, which I would argue is worse recovery than Battle Heal and Inspiring Cry. You get like Hand of Light, which kind of supports like your really bad damage. Just like, yeah, like you could just bring Crusader, get like much better recovery, much better flexibility, because you don't die instantly when you get like moved 1 forward or 1 back. Because if Vestal gets moved back 1, you lose half your kit. If you get pulled forward 1, you lose half your kit. Why? You run Crusader, you get like much better damage suddenly. You do lose like half your kit as well, but Holy Lance is just absurdly strong, so yeah, Base Bash doesn't deal great damage. Terrible skill. But in my opinion, it's probably going to be Illumination. Illumination is just not a real skill. This is like by far one of the worst skills in the game. It clears Stealth, which you have 6 base speed. I don't think any like like your damage dealers are most likely outspeeding your Vestal, and then Illumination like clears the stealth of like stealth enemies, and then next turn the stealth enemy is most likely just gonna outspeed you again, and that's like, bro, because like Shaman is like the main stealth enemy I'm thinking of. Otherwise, like Hook Pig. Why would you bring Vestal to Warrens? First of all, because there's like 1 million stuns, and if Vestal gets stunned, like that's pretty bad because most likely all your healing is gone, and if you still have like a lot of healer, why would you bring Vestal basically? But Illumination doesn't do anything. It's terrible against most stealth enemies because you don't get trinket support, you don't have good accuracy, and this thing can never crit. So that's cool. Love that. So you don't even get like the extra chance to like stress heal. You don't get like the extra chance to like apply the dodge debuff. It's just this skill just doesn't do anything. And like the best trinket support it has, which is honestly not terrible, like the 35% debuff skill chance from this is actually not like horrid. Issue is, if you run this set, you don't have any accuracy, and you are just not hitting like stealth enemies with Illumination. Like that's just not happening. If you want to gamble like that, go right ahead, but I would just rather press like any other skill, you know? So in my opinion, it's Illumination. It's not a good skill. It's not a skill you ever want to see on your like bar because it doesn't do anything. And yeah, that was the video. I'm maybe like gonna post like a list here somewhere like there. If I put it there then in editing, that's cool. Love that. But yeah, if you want to argue with me about things, then come to my stream on Twitch. That's like where I consistently stream. Hopefully soon again, because currently I'm dying. But yeah, thanks for watching. As always, if you enjoyed the video, you can leave like a subscribe. You can leave a like even. And yeah, if you enjoy this type of content, that's all I do on YouTube mainly, like except for VODs, but those are also like basically the same thing of me just yapping. But yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and you all have a good day. Smile.